everyone. Welcome to another episode of It's All About Arts. My name is Amanda Lamoureux Smith, and I am your host for this evening. Glenn is out on location tonight, so I want to say hello to Glenn. I also want to say hello to Janice. I hope you're watching from home as well. We have a very special show this evening. We have a very special co-host, which I will introduce in a minute, as well as an entrepreneur and a sculptor. So we will talk to them a bit later. But I do want to remind people that this is a live call-in show. The number is 617-708-3290. So if you would like to call in, if you have any questions for myself, my co-host, or any of the guests, please feel free to call in. We have some great people in the back answering phones. Also, if you have some questions or some comments about what you're doing artfully in the community, be sure to call in and share those as well. So I want to talk a little bit about Main Streets. This is one of the organizations that keeps us here on the air. Mm-hmm. And this is a volunteer-driven organization that helps revitalize businesses in the Boston area. So they really help to develop the target market and the marketing for their businesses to make sure that they're pairing well with the needs of the community and that they're fitting in well. All these people are strictly volunteer basis. So if you see somebody in a Boston Main Street shirt, be sure to say thank you for myself and everyone here at the BNN studio. So today I want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about the mission here at this building. This building used to be the Eagleston Square power station for the MBTA. So there was a project done in 2007 to revitalize this building, and they've done a wonderful job. And the mission actually of this building is to connect, inform, empower those who live, work, and study in Boston through a distinct and community media programming, education, and services. So that is the main mission of this building, and they do a wonderful job. We actually have a state-of-the-art computer lab downstairs where you can come in and take classes for Final Cut Pro. You can also learn about media within your town, and perhaps you could come on and tell people a little bit about yourselves. We also have a new radio station that is just being finished with construction here. That's WBCA 102.9 on your FM dial. If you are sitting in traffic and you would like to connect with us next time you're in the car, be sure to tune in. They also show some of this show throughout the week. So without further ado, I would like to introduce one of my favorite people in the world.
Stop.
Lee Harrington. Thank you for coming.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, so this is actually my cousin Lee, and he is such a creative soul.
Oh, stop.
And so I thought he would be a great addition to bring in.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful place this is.
Did you have any trouble finding it?
No, know the area pretty well. You know, I used to live in Jamaica Plain, right down the way.
Yeah.
Off Central Street there.
And you are actually most familiar with being behind the scenes, is that correct?
Yes, this is very new to me. Very new to me.
Yes.
I'm usually behind the cameras, setting up the lights for talent like yourself. But yeah, a little nervous, but yes, I'm glad to be here on the other side.
You can't tell.
Breaking the wall.
So tell us a little bit about your experiences with being on the other side of the camera. How did you get involved in that?
Went to school over here at in Brookline, New England Institute of Art, for an audio production degree. Learned a lot about mixing music and all that. Got an internship with the local ABC news station, WCVB. And just have been covering news stories ever since. Really learning a lot about camera work and photography, and you know. Yeah,
and if it's my understanding that you were covering the Aaron Hernandez trial.
That it was a long time.
Must have been crazy, right?
Did 7 weeks there, 6 to 7.
Now, were you actually in the courtroom, or were you doing edits for the footage that was being?
Whole lot of editing. Mainly distributing that video feed to all the other news stations. Really, only reporters will be in that courtroom with the the case. Yeah.
So you were on site all day there for the entire length of the trial?
Down the parking lot, yeah. But it was okay.
Oh my goodness,
good.
That must have had some huge insight, right, for what was going on?
Yeah, it was good. It felt like I was in the courtroom, you know, watching. But you know, definitely the job has its perks in being able to view stuff like that behind the scenes.
And get more of an inside story of what's going on,
learning really.
For better, for worse, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, really see what's going on there.
So I know you've always had a creative soul, because obviously I've grown up with you, but I wanted to figure out when you kind of thought or realized that you had a creative soul, and what kind of brought you into photography, right? Because that's an area of focus of yours.
Yeah, it's definitely what I'm into mainly today is photography, and I really picked it up as a hobby a couple of years ago to assist in camera work, and really didn't expect to fall in love with it like I really have, and just really, walking around a city and with your camera, just trying to get nice little glimpses of certain realities.
Because you have to have an eye for that, you can't just walk around and take random shots,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
So, what was I going to ask you? So, was photography first what kind of burned your creative soul, or were you into something else when you were younger?
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I was into illustrating, drawing, and I would pick a nice image and try to copy it just from my eye, And I've since kind of stopped drawing, but that was absolutely my first love of art was drawing. And drawing, with pencils and all that. And enjoyed it. Definitely fell off. Went over to sports a little bit there, but I definitely.
You still have that in you, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love it, and I've
good.
definitely channeled it into photography.
And you just had your first wedding shoot, is that correct?
Oh my God, yeah, last week.
So tell me how that happened. Tell us how this all went down.
It was a good friend of mine. Congrats to Mr. and Mrs. Sean Denton there.
Congratulations, if you're watching.
Very fun down there. It was last week down there in Raleigh, Durham. And they asked me as a friend if I could do the wedding photography gig, and I was nervous, but it was a very small party, and it was awesome.
Got
it was
your feet
fun.
wet, right?
Loved it.
Now, are you interested in doing that moving forward?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh my God, yeah.
And I'm not sure if you what's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they would like to see your work, or if they would like to hire you to do a photography shoot?
I have a website. It's loharrington.com. Have an email, leeharrington508@gmail for any inquiries or requests. I could absolutely work with you on anything you guys have planned.
Cool.
And I definitely anticipate doing more weddings.
Okay.
I had so much fun last week, getting with the bride and the groom, and making them do poses. You look this way, you look that way, and really getting that nice shot with them. And
so, how many pictures would you say you took throughout, and how many would you edit it down to give them what they?
Yeah, shot a couple hundred at least.
Right.
And I'll probably give them a good 50 maybe. If.
Now, will you put that in a book, or will you give that to them to kind of make a book, or how does that go?
Yeah, I guess I really haven't figured it out too much. I'll probably distribute digital copies over the internet. I might send prints to the bride and groom. But there are all sorts of FTP clients online that can have you send all sorts of media, images, videos, sound. So I'll probably just use one of those, free online services,
All right, so we are going to jump to a break really quickly, and then we will come back, and I have my weekly Monday motivation, so stay tuned. Hi guys, thanks for staying with us. So we are back at our show and it is now time for my weekly Monday motivation. So my quote for today is take time to do what makes your soul happy. Whether that's painting, whether that's making money, whether that's hanging out with your animals or your children, whether that's taking a walk in nature, make sure that you are setting time aside to do what makes your soul happy. Because you are no use to yourself or other people in your life, your loved ones, your business associates, if you're not balanced. And I know we can all remember seeing people who aren't balanced. You know something's going on. Everybody can see it. So make sure that you're really setting some time aside for yourself to make sure that you're balanced and you're whole. And I promise you it'll be very well time spent. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first guest. And this is Alan Kaplan.
Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Did you have any trouble finding it? I remember my first time I had a little bit of an issue.
No,
Are you more familiar with the area than I am?
I just got on Washington Street and watched the numbers.
Perfect, perfect.
And then I saw the building and I said, it's got to be that one.
Yeah, it's got to be that one, right? All right, so you are a sculptor.
Yes.
As I understand it.
Yes.
Did you start off sculpting, or tell us a little bit about how you got into art and kind of your how that led to you here now today?
Well, I was always interested in art, even as a youth, but I couldn't draw. I had trouble with it, unlike your experience.
Yeah.
And as a result, I ended up in the sciences for a while, and then found broadcasting and film, and I have an undergraduate degree from Boston University in broadcasting and film, and photography was one of my hobbies. But then I got into a different world for many years, about 40 years. I went to law school, practiced law. I'm now sort of semi-retired because I don't want to work full-time as a lawyer anymore. I do enjoy what I'm doing, but I'm more interested in the excitement of creating things right now. I'm using the other side of my brain to balance.
To balance out the 40 years that you did live?
Yes, it's tough.
Or working through the trauma?
Well, it wasn't always trauma,
Right.
but it's a different style of viewing things. Although in my trial work, I like to envision a trial as being like a storyboard in terms of creating, when they create movies, they create a storyboard. And I like to think of my trials as being a storyboard. And if you do that, you just become the participant, I hate to say actor, but being a trial lawyer is performance art.
Were you a defense attorney or were you prosecution?
I only represented little guys, and one company that I got drawn into, but they employed a lot of people who made a good average salary as a result of their work. So, but I'm interested now in art. About 3 years ago, a friend of mine who I went to elementary, junior high, high school with, and then who got lost to me for 40 years, and then I found him at a high school reunion, and he had been teaching ceramics in Brookline Public Schools. And so I was hanging out with him one day, and he put this lump of clay in front of me, and he said, "Why don't you see what you can do?" And he showed me a few techniques, but never actually gave me an artistic vision. He left that for me, which
As
is
you should have.
which is good teaching.
Right.
And what happened is that I started to develop doing primitive masks and primitive images, and then refine them as my skills got better. I say primitive because my skills were primitive.
Oh.
And then but I stayed within the primitive image for a while. And then I branched out into, I did a piece modeled after Dali's melting clock, only I did a small piece with melting eyes. And my friend said to me at that time, Greg Steinzik, he says, "Why don't you do a body of work modeled after that?" And he has a doctorate in art education. And he told me that I was ready to progress in terms of doing a body of work, which is usually what an artist does in grad school. So I created this series called Dolly Eyes. It's a different way of seeing eyes, and that evolved into structure, facial structure, and there's the eyes are the windows into the soul.
Agreed.
But there are many people in that soul. You're not the same person at work, at home that you are at work. And at times, you're different people. You're a daughter.
I'm a cousin.
You're a cousin. You're an employee. You're an artist. And I've been trying to show that a face or a structure can be seen in different ways. And
I love
to
that.
communicate this different way.
Multifaceted souls, right? And different people all within one.
Yes, and I'm trying to inspire people to look at things differently. I often don't know where I'm going when I start, but one piece leads to the other, and the constructions have a unity to them. I fought even thinking of myself as an artist for many years.
Oh, me too. It took me, I'm very relatively new into that, and that when I first had to attach that label to me, I was extremely
I'm not
uncomfortable.
good enough to be an artist.
Right, I'm like, I just didn't self-identify with it, so it was very odd to say it out loud, you know?
It was my friends and people who saw my work evolving who encouraged me to think of myself as an artist. They said to me, you already are
You
an
already are,
artist.
so you might as well own it, right?
You might as well own it.
Did that
Yeah.
impact your work once you actually saw
question.
yourself as
Well,
an
it
artist?
actually changed my work. I had gone through this whole series of Dolly Eyes. I had created like 30 different pieces over the course of 7 or 8 months. And at times, with clay, I became a machine. I had like 3 different pieces going at once. And it's funny, I started to use, in carving out of clay, the structures and the shapes I wanted. There was this detritus or debris, the clay debris. And I started to look at that, and then I put the debris together. And that has led me to certain pieces now that I construct. I've moved from 2-dimensional sort of mass into 3-dimensional art lately. I'm working, I can't recall the last time I worked with clay. It was 7, 8 months ago. I'm working with wood as an embouchure, and I'm using metal and acrylic paint and shellac and detritus. Certain pieces I brought today have parts of old erector sets.
Well, why don't we take a look at this one here that we have up on the front stage?
This one right
Yes.
here was just a piece of wood, and I looked at it and tried to figure out what it was saying to me. And I saw it as a flame, and just like a flame has various colors, if you look into a flame, it's got blues, it's got golds, it's got yellows, and there's a deep red in the interior. And this shows this deep red in the interior. Those are 2 pieces of an old erector set that I painted red. So there's metal, there's wood, there's acrylic paint, and it's 3-dimensional in that
They're having a tough time with the camera.
it moves around. You can put it on a pedestal and walk around it.
Nice.
So-
So where did you find this piece of wood? Were you walking along in the forest? Did you intentionally go out to seek it?
I started working with wood about 7 months ago, and initially I was putting clay masks on wood, and that evolved into creating and working and sculpting with the erector set pieces, going on to the wood. And then I moved into debris. I was walking down the street and there was a guy throwing out an old chandelier, and I said,
I
do you
love
mind
that
if I
stuff,
had the chandelier? And he said, sure. But in answer to your question, this piece of wood and the other piece I have came from a large stump of a tree that my neighbor had to take down. And I was walking my dog, and I saw that they had cut all the limbs off, and it was just sort of laying on the ground. And I knocked on the door, and I said, do you mind if I have that? And she said, no, 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 you can have it.
Yeah.
We don't
Take
mind.
it.
Yeah,
Take
please,
it.
actually,
We
yeah.
don't know what to do with it. So my friend and I came over, and we took a chainsaw and cut it in half so that we could get it into my car. Went to his house. He took one half and created like the gates of Hades, because the interior was all rotten. And I looked at it and I said, why don't you flip it up like this so that the bottom became the top with all the roots that had been cut off, and it looked like you're entering this cavern. And I took the other piece and chopped it. It took a whole afternoon to split it into like 5 pieces of wood.
Wow.
And that's one of them. And this other
what's
piece
the other piece?
is one of what I've done with the other.
Whale coming at you.
Yeah, there it is.
Now this is meant to be mobile, right? You can hang it from
Oh,
the...
yeah. there you
It
go.
hangs,
I
and
think that
it,
would look great in a cape house.
and it
Right.
flies on a porch.
Come on. There he is.
If you let go, it has perfect weight,
Nice.
and
I love the back.
I
Oh,
know.
beautiful.
That is beautiful. Texture, I love texture.
Yeah.
now this started off as just a piece of wood, and at first I was standing it this way, I was turning it this way, and I was trying to look at it just as a piece of wood, and I saw, if you hold it this way, it looked like a fish to me.
Yeah, it looks like a fish to me too.
And so the eye is a piece of the chandelier that when I disassembled
Oh,
the
I see that,
chandelier, it's part of that. And I painted it with this metallic iridescent acrylic paint. The fin is actually 2 pieces of the chandelier that I put gold paint on, even though it was brass. I wanted to bring out the color. And then I just got creative with painting all the lines. And if you ever cut into fresh fish and you look at it from the side, it's iridescent, and there are pinks and
Wow.
reds
So right.
and whites, and that's what this is.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Do you,
And this little dorsal fin is created by 3 pieces of that old erector set. And these are just brads I found.
so do you, because I've always been interested in kind of using wood or other
You'll take
inventive sources for art. Do you have to do a lot of pre-treating on that to preserve the wood? Is there, because obviously if someone, I'm not sure if you're selling your work, but if you do, someone buys it and it starts to deteriorate.
I try to get all the rot off of it, but leave a surface of rot, because I'm finding the best apertures for texture are when you have a trunk that's decayed and fallen, and then you split it, and the interior has this beautiful wrought texture to it. And then I split it some more, and I did a piece that was just too large. I can barely move it around. It stands 6 feet,
Wow.
8 inches
That's an
tall.
investment.
Need some room.
And it is a beautiful piece. It's my ode to a painting, Gustav Klimt painting called Woman in Gold. And I didn't bring that today because I can't. It's very difficult to transport around. But right now it's in my house on display. But I learned that it's too big for the average person.
Right.
I'm into trying to get my art. When we had the Aurora 2A gallery, a pop-up gallery in Rosendale from November and December of last year, 2 other artists and myself were like the Pirandello place, 6 artists in search of an author, 6 characters in search of an author. We were 3 artists in search of a gallery. So I said, why don't we open one ourselves for a couple of months and So
That's awesome.
we found an empty storefront in Rosendale Square. We found the right landlord who was going to renovate the space, but he could delay the renovation so while they worked on another part of the building, and it was at 2A Corinth Street. And we painted it and hung art and had a really nice time becoming members of the Rosendale community.
And is that how you met Glenn?
That Glenn walked into our space, looked around, and said, geez, I'd like to have you guys on my TV show, one at a time. So Mary went first. She's the watercolorist. She was on your show in January.
I remember.
And I'm next.
How come you got second?
Ladies first.
Ladies first. What a gentleman.
There you go.
It's courtesy, not chauvinism.
Oh, okay. I agree. So you have some images for us, is that correct?
Yes, there are
Alrighty.
images of my masks in different stages. This is actually one of the most newer one. After a while, I started to actually embed steel into clay. And that mask, or sculptor, has screws, pegboard hooks, thumbtacks, and the thing that holds coasters in the bottom of your of chairs, so that I call it boots because the coaster inserts stick straight up like the guy's wearing boots. But that was towards the end of my clay work, and that's acrylic paint because I didn't want to bake it a second time. If I had put glaze on the piece, I would have had to bake it a second time. And there I found out that when you embed steel and aluminum pieces into clay, that they'll bake once, but baking the second time is problematic.
Well, what happens?
It pops out, it oxidizes more,
Okay.
and so I started using acrylic paint to get the colors.
Okay. Do we have some more images?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
right.
They're trying to find them, but
Yes.
Load them up.
So where can people find more information about you?
well, you can contact me by cell phone, 617-872-2070,
Okay.
or there's Aurora, www.aurora2a Art or Boston.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it is.
And do we have, I think we do have a couple more images. Oh, that's beautiful.
This piece was actually done from the debris of cutting and making another mask. And the blue circle was left over, and I just folded it around itself. And I put it on top of another piece and textured it all and took a small piece and just, that's the way it just called to me to arrange the items in that way. And then I chose glazes, and I made a mistake on, it wasn't a mistake, but what's the white interior is not really, didn't start off white. It was supposed to be a strawberry color.
What happened?
And it got absorbed by the clay too
I
much.
can still see a little bit of pink now that you mentioned that, but before I just would have seen a white with a little bit of a tan.
There's strawberry underneath it, and you can see it
Yeah,
through the white
you can, yeah.
glaze. So in glazing twice or three times, you can actually add layers of color.
Do we have time for one more?
This is one of the pieces I like the best. I call this Dolly Eyes number 8.
Some dolly eyes here.
And what you have here is different, the eyes have moved from, they're sort of bleeding, and the mouth is actually a pile of different colored rocks. And the eyebrows are clouds in the sky in terms of mixing images to create a face. So stones can be a mouth, eyes can be squares, dots for eyelid.
Yeah.
It's a different way to see something.
Open-minded. Yep.
That is actually inspired by a painting of Mary's, Mary Gilfus, one of the other Aurora 2A artists. She did a small boat sailing in a harbor with a blue sail. And I decided to work with a piece that could be multifaceted, and the sail pieces on the edges are blue there. And I textured the clay to give an ocean effect. And it's like sailing on the sea. And
Yeah, that's awesome.
it's all inspired by Mary's work.
Wow.
Now, is this one of the masks that you were speaking to?
Yes, this is one of the first wave. This is the culmination of the primitive art phase, in which I move even beyond primitive art in terms of just structuring things.
So this is a big transitional piece
Yes.
that you have.
Yes, this is a transitional piece because rather than carving clay, I'm adding structure to it. The red eyebrows and nose were all added, and yet the mouth is carved out of the initial piece. The marks in the face are deep grooves that I carve into the clay, and I put the glaze into the crevices.
Right.
And out of one piece, I also carved the headdress.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. I wasn't sure if that was hair or if those were
That
feathers.
piece actually sold. It's called Samoan Prince, and it was bought.
Nice. Don't you love the feeling of knowing that someone enjoyed that enough to bring it home and it's somewhere on the wall in someone's home that they get to look at every day?
Yes, but I hope that doesn't happen next weekend.
Why? What's coming up next weekend?
I'm doing an exhibit for 10 days in Adams Park in Roslindale.
Wow.
Co-sponsored by the Craft Beer Store and Main Street Roslindale Village, Main Street. I know the people in Roslindale, and they wanted, through my association with Aurora Gallery, they got to know us. And so I'm going to put my mass on in the park for 10 days. I'm just going to hang them there.
Nice.
And people can walk by and enjoy them. And hopefully they won't be stolen. And
Yeah, well, let's have good faith in people, right?
I have faith in people.
I do too.
And if someone wants to commit a felony to own a piece of my
Then
art,
that's on them, right?
That's a compliment.
Yes, I agree. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and we will be back with our second guest. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure meeting you. Awesome work.
Thank you, Alan.
We'll be
Thank
right
you
back
very
in.
much.
Hi guys, thanks for staying with us. We really appreciate it. We have another fabulous guest that I'm about to introduce. So with that, I would like to introduce Juan Carlos.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for having me.
Nice meeting you as well. Thank you so much for coming in. We
Pleasure.
really, really appreciate it. So you are an entrepreneur.
I guess so.
Yeah. Do you think that that's in your soul?
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
a kid?
Absolutely. You know, it's so funny. I recently was talking about what drove me to this type of work. And,
Okay.
I get inspired by the look of the outcome of my projects. Anything that I do and see the people reaction after the fact is just it's a passion, and I think that to me is just it's like adrenaline, you know.
Right,
so
right,
it's
right. So
fascinating.
you're into the reaction that you get based off of what you can bring to people?
Yeah, it's just does a lot to it.
So how did you get your start?
So I'm actually I study engineering. Started in the pharmaceutical industry. I used to go all over the world, and my job was to oversee vendors, whether it was China, Japan, Europe, and one day I told a good friend of mine, Eve, you know, people need stuff done around the house. People need stuff done in the area, whether it's watering their plants and things like that. So I saw the need, you know. I said there's that aspect of it that is it could be happening in the city. So I said maybe that concept of being an auditor all over the world, I can imply that towards an individual. And given the day-to-day now that people are so busy, they need services like this. So I said let's give it a shot, and it's been almost 2 years now.
So what are the services that you provide?
So we start off with the renovation of a client's home. We start off with managing the whole process from getting quotes, getting them in front of the clients, obtaining the quotes and kind of going through those details, what they bring into the table. Luckily, I have built some really good relationship with some vendors.
Almost like preferred vendors who you trust, who you know are going to do a good job. Because I know for me, whenever we have looking to bring somebody into our home, it's like there's no laws really to regulate. They can do not a great job and just take off, and you could never see them again.
And they're out.
And that we see horror stories, or at least I do on some of the home renovation shows of like this awful work, and these people are out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, and they're
you
just
name it's there.
yeah, and it's really awful because you know you're bringing people into your home, trusting them with your hard-earned money and your sanctuary, you know, and then they can do awful things and then leave you worse than you started. So that's awesome that you're bringing in people that you trust and making it a whole experience for them, correct?
Absolutely. And I mean, the good thing is that I've built a relationship with them where, at the very beginning, I told them, I said, I have zero tolerance for errors. I hate surprises. So let's
At least
do
you
it.
told them that up front, right?
Yeah,
They knew what they were getting into.
Absolutely. And I do tell them is that, they often ask me, do you think it's done? And I will tell them, if it's not perfect, it's not done. So
I'm not doing my job if you're not doing your job.
Exactly. It's my name on the line. And I've built a really good relationship with the actual clients. And that sort of lead us to the next project, which is essentially relocating them. They want to move. Once they get their place, they want to renovate it. And then we build that relationship, we build that trust. And then once they move in, they want to do a housewarming party. For example, last night we did a wedding. I get to work with some amazing people, like Jimmy Guzman.
I love him. Oh my God, I hit it off with him so well.
So yeah, we did a wedding last night, and I'm a little tired today.
Yes, I feel it.
But it was
Monday,
it was just,
so you need some motivation.
Indeed, that came handy. So it's the same thing with that client. She moved. She wanted her home renovated. She wanted someone to manage the relocation, and then she wanted her wedding done. So that's when I came in and I orchestrated the whole show for her.
Wow. That's awesome. So would you say that the majority of your clients are existing clients that you're just kind of broadening the scope for them? Or would you say that you have your clients, you do the job, and it's kind of a mix of both doing additional projects for them and kind of recruiting new clients?
Yes.
By referral? Is that kind of, yeah?
So luckily, I'm knock on wood, my clientele at the moment are very happy with what I've done for them. And as a result, they will tell their friend.
Yes.
And it just become that chain. And not only I become friend with the client, then I'm friend with their friend.
Yeah. Right. And then you're invited to cocktail hours, right?
Like last night, it was almost impossible to not have a great time.
A great time, yeah.
So
and especially if you're doing wonderful things for them, them, it creates a really amazing atmosphere, right? Where they're
Absolutely.
grateful, you're making money, they're happy in their home, right?
Absolutely. And
Cheers.
at the end of the day, they're happy, I'm happy, you know. And you know, another aspect of it, I get to work with, you know, and I get to meet amazing people. For example, I'm working with the MFA, with their summer ball. The same thing with the Boston Center of the Arts. Actually, the tickets went on sale for their summer ball today, and it's just great what they're doing there. You know, and as a Latino growing up, we didn't have those resources to attend a museum and kind of bring the community together. And I just love what they're doing, and that to me is just fascinating.
Where did you go at?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And
Raised and born there.
When did you make your way over here?
1999. Learned English up here, loved it, and I stay up here.
Did you know English prior to coming, or did you?
No. We just had a little song that we used to sing. You know, they just translate word to word, and it was just.
Wow, so that must have taken a few years, if not more, to kind of get acquainted and get down the cultural references.
Oh yeah, you name it, I lived it. But it was fun. It was a great journey.
But you learned to kind of think on your feet. So that I think that kind of perfectly situates you for.
Absolutely. It's just one of those things that they throw you in the deep water with a life vest.
Yeah. Like right now. Live TV, folks.
That's right. Yeah, no, but it's great. I love it.
That's awesome. So you would say it focuses on kind of any event or any assistance that someone might need in their personal lives?
Absolutely.
Do you work with businesses as well?
I do, but in a very small scale.
Okay.
I think that what I provide at the moment is just such an intimate service to a clientele that, and they're pretty busy clients, the people that I'm working at the moment with, and they just need things done, and you know, they loving it, and it's great. So
The busier, the better for you, you know, because you're looking for those busy people.
Absolutely,
you know?
and we're always looking for photographers and for art.
Yes. Well, you're in the right spot for that.
Absolutely. So
that's awesome. So where can people find out more information about your services?
absolutely, JuanCarlosConsulting.com.
JuanCarlosConsulting.com. That's awesome. So if you could go back to yourself at an earlier age, what advice would you give yourself leading up to now?
You know, I wouldn't change anything. I think that everything that I've done, sometimes I improvise things, like now. But I love everything. I think that I'm surrounded by great friends, a very loving husband, very loving family. I love my community. And I just love everything from growing up to here. I mean, my childhood was one of the best childhood I've ever
You've ever had?
Yeah, right?
Well, you have.
So it's just great. I love everything. Yeah, and I wouldn't change anything.
So you tell yourself, keep doing you, right?
No
keep at it, because it's going to turn out
absolutely.
just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So
That's awesome.
very pleased.
Great answer. Great response.
Great answer.
No regrets.
Keep going.
Wouldn't
It's
change a
working well
thing.
for you.
Awesome.
So how did you get connected to the show here tonight?
Jimmy Guzman.
Yeah, we had him on last week or the week before, and he was awesome.
He's great. He's
yeah.
great. He's a
I'm
dear
like,
friend.
I feel like I made a new friend.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Jimmy, if you're watching me, say hello.
Absolutely. Super talented guy. Super
Yes.
talented. Brilliant.
So what do you have coming up? Where will you be doing any events or anything that people could come see, or what, you know, what's up for the future for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like as I mentioned earlier, the BCA, Boston Center of the Arts, we're working one of the co-chairs. So we're working on an amazing summer ball.
Oh, how fun!
To start from 7 o'clock until midnight, and then
A ball for what?
for the local artists. And,
I'm definitely coming.
Yeah, it's definitely great.
I'm there.
And it's very, you know, the way that they set it up is, you know, prices are very reasonable. You know, if you come in a little later, which is Dance Under the Dome, is a lot less than, you know, but it's great. Like,
Oh my God!
it's such a
Is that
great,
open to the public, or
Yeah,
is that
absolutely,
invite only?
absolutely.
Oh, and when is this taking place? Because I'm actually really interested
June
in it.
3rd. June 3rd. And
at
tickets
the-
went on sale today, so it's
Oh,
great.
and where do you find tickets?
BostonCenteroftheArts.org, so it's great.
BostonCenteroftheArts.org. All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming to speak
pleasure.
with us and telling people about your talents. And you want to again say the website for people to contact you?
Absolutely, JuanCarlosConsulting.com.
JuanCarlosConsulting.com. So again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. That's what we have for you tonight. And next week, Glenn will be back. It'll be our duo again. And like Glenn likes to say, please keep in mind, in the forefront of your minds, your brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, anyone overseas. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And we will see you next week, guys.